Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. We have this super rich, crazy, deep, luscious red Mirri holographic. And what to do on this piece has been on my mind. This and one of the other pieces. Now, this one is a matte. Which they call it matte, but it's very satiny looking. Okay, so I would, it's not so much matte, as much as it's matte in comparison to something really glossy. But I like the surface on these quite a bit. Hello, Diana. So I thought something. Now we're not going to do something on this that's going to be, definitely. We're not starting off with tranquility here. It's dramatic and kind of deep. And it has its own spirit to it, okay? So we're just going to go with that. We're not trying to force this into, a quality that it just doesn't inherently possess or anywhere close to. So we're going to go with some crazy stuff. So it's given me excuse to go and pull out a couple stamps that I really enjoy. One of them is from Gumbo Graphics. There's other eyeballs out there. Gumbo Graphics has been closed for probably 20 years or more. 100 proof press, you can still get this one. S4778. I don't know, whatever it is. I call it the Conjuring person, or I don't know, whatever I called it in the past, something like that. But I've always kind of done stuff where it's like in the foreground, and whatever you put up here, it kind of gives it this kind of dramatic flair to it. So always fun. Hello, Debbie. Hello, anyone else that's jumped on or is watching this in the replay. Thanks so much for checking it out. All right, so there's not a lot you can do on these types of papers, okay? If you just stamp directly on top of them, unless they're dark enough and you're stamping your imagery in something other than black, black isn't going to stand up against this background very much, right? It's, if I stamp this over the top of it, anywhere that's light in there is not going to be light, okay? It's going to be the colors of the background. So all of that darkness would be showing right through here, and you wouldn't be able to see the forms. So we have to block out anything that we want to stamp out on the top of it in black, okay? At least in parts of it so that we can represent, a good portion of the imagery. Problem is, you don't want to block off all of this because then we'd be getting rid of the characteristic of the paper and the whole purpose of using it. So the whole thing that we're going to be doing is to represent, we want that paper to be represented, but we want to kind of tame it a little bit with some areas that are partially covered, in this case with white ink, okay? I wasn't even sure about the white here, if it would go with this at all because, it's just, the deepest color is red, and it's kind of a medium tone red to black, okay? And if you haven't seen these papers before, this one transitions here is black with this kind of, reddish outline, and if you transition it, see, it's like, now it's light with the black around it, okay? But this one here, it's medium to dark, medium to black. All right. Hello, CM Hawkins. Hello, Linda. Verna, good to see you. I'm enjoying everyone's pieces. If you post on Facebook and whatnot, well, on Facebook is where I see all the pieces. But all right, let's see what we can do with this. So if you like, kind of the more, just nice and whatever tranquil pieces, you might not like this scene here. So viewer beware. Oh yeah, I forgot to put that into the description. I was going to put a warning label. All right, so here's the thing. If we're doing it on this kind of this deep reddish, deep crimson looking thing with an eyeball, the front there. If you do it on I don't know, a light blue one, but instead of this eyeball, it's I don't know, a pair of doves or something like that, it changes the spirit of it completely. But we can still use a lot of the same imagery. It would just kind of change the characteristic of it. So you can utilize the techniques here. You just kind of change around kind of the main kind of focal point of it. This person could be right here, and it's whatever. It's Pegasus up in the sky or something like that, or a unicorn. You know what I mean? So, anyways. Let's see what we can do here. Okay, so my focal point is going to be this eyeball right here. So again, we need to, if I want that eyeball to even show up at all in here, we need to block off a little bit. This is some white brilliance. What is it? Moonlight white. Yeah, moonlight white. Okay, and it's a water-based white pigment ink that is designed to dry on non-porous surfaces. So it's not grabbing this, and it's not like a StazOn where it dries instantly, or it dries kind of with us unable to edit it. Okay, I can just wipe this right off right now, and you can wipe it right off, this type of paper at least, even when it's dry. Okay, but it will dry in there, but we're just going to need to spray seal it upon completion, or upon drying. All right, so that eyeball is going to be right there. So that, I think that should stand out. How opaque you want to make this white is going to be something that you'll think about, and it will determine how many layers of this white you apply on top. See, it's a little bit lighter in there. So if you want it to be a little bit more kind of illuminated in a portion of it, you can add more ink on top of it. So you just have to keep adding it on there. It's going to look translucent, or more translucent when it dries. So, you might have to allow it to dry. You might even like spray seal it or something like that, and then add another layer on top of it like that. I don't know, that's the weakness of this, okay? But it's also the strength of it in terms of, it's the weakness in terms of maybe the speed at which you can kind of achieve something, but it's also the strength in which it doesn't look so extreme, and it gives you like all the time in the world to edit it and to get your application down just the way you want it, And again, it's because if you get something on there that you don't want, you can just wipe it right off, okay? And even when it dries, all right? You can't do that on printable vinyl. That's a completely different thing. But on the holographic cardstocks, for the most part, it's pretty universal. Okay, so I'm adding this into this area right here. Hopefully we get this kind of focal point here where it looks like this eyeball's glowing. You don't hear that in my videos too much, do you? We got to get the glowing eyeball look technique. Okay, and around it, I was thinking about putting these clouds like this. So again, I want the spirit of all those wavy kind of patterns to be in here. So I want some of that waviness to be in the cloud too. Okay, so I don't want to do a ton of blocking out with this, but I want some just to get the spirit of it in here. So, and I want to be able to see some of that cloud too. So we need to kind of, apply some of this around on the perimeter like this. I'm going to leave a little bit of space in between too, I think. But I'm going to make this application of the white a little bit more irregular. I don't want like a corona or something like that that's completely, even, all right? So that makes it easier for us too if we're doing this, okay? It doesn't have to be, it can be blobby in some areas and uneven, you know what I mean? Don't take we don't have to take like a template or, something like that and to measure this all out, get it globby in some areas so that some areas of your clouds are a little bit lighter than other areas. It'll kind of oscillate between kind of light and not really dark, but a darker area of the cloud, okay? And it's going to go around that eyeball like this. If it was like a standard scene, out in nature and you wanted to do this type of thing, it would be cool to do it on like a piece of blue paper or something like that. And instead of an eyeball, you put a moon in there or something of that sort, you know? And it would look like a cool kind of, I don't know, calm moonlit night, when when that moon has that ring around it, that corona, which is always kind of interesting to see. Oh, the private class recap. Yes, Debbie. Yeah, that was that was a really fun class. So Debbie's talking about the private class recap, and that's where someone wanted to take the class, but at some point in time, it's they've taken the other classes with me, and she took the classes that I taught the classes in were different media than what she'd been using. So she wanted to start using some other media with her landscape pieces, her scenic stamping. So we didn't go into watercolor pencils and colored pencils. I'm kind of learning that myself, so I don't teach that. So she didn't really know kind of the relationships between kind of what we learned on other things like foils and things like that. Some of the things that we learn on this, it can be applied to, the concepts are all applicable to, media that's almost the opposite of it, like matte paper and chalks or something like that. Okay. So I had to kind of translate a lot of the just general concepts of continuity, color continuity, textural continuity, things like that. Making the sky look more integrated with the mountains or the lake or something like that down below, as they were being done in a different medium. So that was the thing that was missing to her, was kind of a cohesiveness and flow to her pieces. Some of the pieces that we're utilizing, say, like paint pens or something like that, from a textural standpoint, they looked really good, but they were lacking variation in them. So it looked more like kind of collage, which can that's its own kind of aesthetic too. You can do something that looks like that, but she wasn't doing it purposefully. So I was saying you can double down on kind of what your pieces already look like, or we can do these really minor tweaks to get them looking a lot more of like what she was wanting to achieve. So we did that in the class. So if anyone's interested, you can take a look at that. But I always said, if anyone runs into problems, and I find that a lot of people do, but they, and I say, hey, you should, don't toss anything out. Send me your pieces. Most people don't do that because they're kind of embarrassed or something like that. But what her pieces looked like to me, and she really didn't like a lot of parts of it or the whole thing, it's because to her they were finished pieces. But to me, they were like if it was like a 10-step, scene or something like that, to me, all of her pieces were like 8.5 or 9. And it just needed that final little touch on all of them. And she loved them after that, but it was really minor little tweaks. So it wasn't changing her style or anything like that. It was just kind of working with whatever she was already, going with. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of this paper towel to create a little bit more variation than just this haze like that. And we want to get most of this type of thing done before we stamp our images out on here, because we're not really going to be able to do very much after we stamp the images unless we spray seal it and then add some more touches to it. So just like, what is it? Just like last week, I guess, we're going to get most of this done right here. And that's what I do on this most of the times on the vinyl. I mean, not in the vinyl, but the holographic cardstocks, okay? With the vinyl, you can keep working on it, and do all kinds of other things to it. But I don't know, yeah, but if anyone ever runs into, problems in their pieces, or it's like, oh my God, you think you ran off the rails with a card, and if you're not, if you're not going to do anything else to it, send it to me, and I'll just show you what can be done. And it's not like, there's like a set thing. Oh, you forgot to do X, Y, and Z. There's like many different things that people can do as options, okay? And oftentimes it's just about media. We didn't even go into like adding additional stamps or something like that, which could also strengthen it. But there's like tons of different options, that you can do. And I run into it all the time in my own pieces, though, too. I don't. Things aren't necessarily going exactly as planned, okay? Especially when I'm playing around with like new types of media. Like this card right here, I have no idea what it's going to look like. I have a general idea, but I always have to you know, kind of think on my feet, and adjust, accordingly when I run into kind of an issue with something or something that came up unexpectedly. And I don't know, that's like the fun part about it, though, too. It's just kind of like seeing what's going to happen along the way. Okay, so let's see. Um, okay, so that is the clouds right there. Now I need to figure out how this is going to transition down this way. I think I need more clouds right down in here in order for this figure to stand out, okay? And I'm going to stamp out this boulders with lichen as the thing that the person's standing on. It'd be kind of interesting to use one of the Greco-Roman images right here with a couple columns on the side too. That would be kind of interesting. But we'll just go with what I grabbed right now. Okay, so one of the things that was in that lesson too, I don't think I talked about it on the recap, that video that I just posted, but one of the things I was talking about with them was transitions. Okay, so everything, like a lot of times objects were treated the same way from top to bottom. I mean, she had, lighting and shade in it too, but we wanted to push things a little bit more. So like for something like that rock right there, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a little bit heavier on the top. I think we did this last week too. I'll put this white a little bit heavier on one side so it's lighter to darker like that, inherently just right in the background. So see, when you do something like, when you're working kind of the opposite, we're kind of doing, you're doing light on, you're doing like reverse. Typically when we're adding stuff to a white piece of paper, we're adding color and something that's darker than the card, the paper. So you kind of have to think in reverse. So on something like this, see if this transitions from something lighter to darker down here, then we don't have to, after we stamp our images in here, we don't necessarily have to shade them, and add shadows down here because it's going to be darker just inherently in the impression, over the top of the white, of course. And that's the same thing that'll be going on with the clouds in here. I think a lot of people are kind of reluctant to try this out, but I really encourage you to do this. It doesn't have to be on, not on the Mirri, the Hall, it had to be on something like that specifically, but even doing this type of thing on a piece of matte blue or something like that, dark blue, it's not just for the sake of creating this, though, okay? I found that when I started doing, this type of thing where you're developing your light on a darker piece like this, when you go back to a white piece of paper and, we're just doing, I don't know, whatever, I guess it would be a little bit more traditional types of applications on things, I was a lot more aware of, it improved my lighting on white, or, kind of defining lighting on white from having just completely having to define it through the use of white. Okay, so I guess what I mean is when you're having to define light on white through darker tones, you know what I mean? I just think it makes, when you're doing something like this, it makes you more sensitized to it. When you go back. All right, but this is, I don't know, when I'm doing this too, it almost feels like sculpture too, you know, like I'm sculpting something out of something, especially on the, you know, this type of cardstock too, because you can just kind of erase, you know, what you've added down there too. So, see like this. I don't know if you see that scraping right there, but I scraped right through it down to the, you know, just down to the card again. Okay, let's add in some more clouds. Let's have a like a you know, like a, I don't know, like this I don't know, a pillar of clouds or something like that. Let's try something like that in here. All right, let me rip a new stencil here. I think that was the stencil I was using last week right there. Let's go like that. A little bit more kind of rounded like this. Lichens are good. What was that again? I forgot what those are. I recognize the name, but I forgot what those are. Are those like a cross between stuff or something? Oh, I was going to use. I have a that creature from the Black Lagoon, but I thought, that doesn't look. That's not right on this one. Creature of the Black Lagoon, I would use like this one right here or something. Or maybe the black. All right, those don't look too good. I'll smooth them out though. My template here is a little bit too, I don't know. It's like bulbous or something. So with the clouds here, you add it down like this, but then you also go back and you freehand some additional tones back in there. All right, so it's something like that. It's a little bit awkward right there, but let's go back in here like this, and then you just add more in here. And then again, you know, that whole idea with transitioning, you just kind of transition it out. It ends abruptly right there, so let's go back in like this. Okay, so what I'm looking at right here is I just want to make sure that we're maintaining enough of the background in there. Again, you know what I mean? My whole idea isn't just to cover up everything that makes this kind of paper special. You want to have it in there. But you also want, you know what I mean? If we're going to be, you know, we're stampers, we want, you know, what we're stamping on top of there to, you know, to be visible at least. So you just need to block out whatever you think, you know, is necessary in here to showcase whatever you want to stand out. Okay, so this little figure is going to be right here. I think it's going to be important, like right around in here, this point, to stand out. So let's make this area in here, you know, quite a bit lighter as an area of emphasis within the form. I'm going to make this little area right here, this little column here, a little bit more illuminated from that, I always say weird saying from the eyeball. I'm usually saying something like from the moon or from the light source or, you know, the sun, something like that. Okay, now see that it's down here? This really, when it dried quite a bit darker. So you just kind of add a little bit more, or I don't know, it's kind of a big slathering of, I'm adding quite a bit more. Like that. Right on the top there like that, but yeah, let's see. Could be, so you can put this type of thing up in your, wherever you have it, and then it's one of those things where when you walk from like over here to the other side of the room, that eyeball will follow you. One of the things about this paper, though, if you walk, you know what I mean, from it, the angles do change a little bit like that. See those little forms in there do change, you know, depending on your perspective on it, you know, which is kind of cool. So right there where those, it looks like from a dimensional standpoint, I do believe that that white looks like it's in front of, or it's hovering over kind of this deeper, I don't know, space in the background. I think this will be good if I splatter paint some white around in here too. But I think we're ready to stamp out our imagery on here. All right, so I'm going to go with a pretty thick application of Brilliance ink for my impressions on here. I did get pretty thick in some areas on here. And again, it's not adhered on there. And it's also, at this point in time, still a little bit moist. You know, if I go in here like that, you know, you can see where I've removed a bit of that ink. So what you want to do is when you're stamping your impressions, just make sure that there's adequate ink on here, and it's pretty much the same consistency as the white, you know, the black and the white. If I kind of ink this up and it's a little bit dry, what might happen is I might stamp it down in here, and as I lift it off, I might remove the white as opposed to transferring the black. Okay. A monster line of stamps. We should. We don't have a werewolf. No, I don't have any. Yeah, I don't have any kind of like famous monsters of filming type of thing. But I have thought about doing some things before. I've thought about doing it. You know, there used to be so many different types of stamps available out there, and it might not have been all at the same time. But you know, I could just say, oh, you know, you want that. You know, the Creature of the Black Lagoon. Well, actually, that one's like probably discontinued in the '80s. But you know what I mean? There would be similar things available from a lot of different companies. But over the years, when I've used certain stamps, it's like, hey, you know, I've been looking all over for it. You know, then I kind of helped them start looking for it, and I found some things. But it's like, oh my gosh, you know. There's a lot of things that just aren't available anymore. I don't like, you know, I don't like replication of stamps from that are even close to other companies. I don't know. It's just one of those things as an artist, you know, you don't like copy someone else. But if they're just not available anywhere, you know, yeah, you know, so I have released some things, like those figures, you know what I mean? I mean, yeah, those ones were actually engravings, but yeah, there were a lot more monsters out there before, you know. Loch Ness would be a good one for all water scenes. You can do a set like with you know, the Creature of the Black Lagoon, again, coming out of the water. Yeah, werewolf, you know, a witch in the sky, kind of flying against a moon or something like that would be cool. Bats. All right, so see how that rocks just stands out like that? If you watched last week, you know what I'm talking about, or, you know, I don't know, I don't know, what is it, like 3 weeks I've been doing this Mirri exploration. Okay, let's see. I wonder if I should do this right now. Yeah, I might as well. What? Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. This cloud right here is going to be really prominent. Maybe I should do this first, and then I'll stamp out my little figure, because there's going to be so much of this going on in here. I just want to make sure that I don't touch, you know, my little figure and smear it or something like that. So, okay, so I'm going to do this one first. All right, so it's a black thick ink. So standard procedure here. I'm going to use my my cloud template here that served me so well for so long. And I'm going to wipe off the edges here, okay? I'll even wipe off the back of it this time because it's going to be floating kind of within the circle. I don't know if I'll go out all the way to the edge of the card. I don't think I am. I think this is going to be kind of a floating kind of circle of cloud formations in here, okay? Can you see that? Okay, here, let's go like this. If you're using the unmounted version, one of the things I show people in my class, and I got this from one of my customers as far as an idea, but on the back of the rubber, you know, you can see that's the direction that the lighting is coming from. It's coming from like this way, you know? So, you know, when you look at a stamp like that, unless you're used to kind of seeing it in reverse. So on the back of this rubber, okay, she just drew an arrow. So she's always pointing it in the direction of her light. So if the moon's coming in from over here, then, you know, the clouds would be this way. If the moon's right here, then she has it pointed down at that moon like that. So I thought, oh, that's a really great idea. So you can draw like an arrow onto your bare rubber if you use it that way, or on your cling foam. Okay, so this. Okay, so I'm wiping it off too if you haven't watched these videos before. I'm wiping off this so I don't get this harsh edge right in here. The edge is there, but it's kind of transitioning and, you know, it's not as visible. It tapers off this way, you know, because we're stamping kind of a drier version of that area in there. Now it's in there for a reason so that, you know, if we don't have dark back there, then we don't see the light right here, right? So it has to be there, but I'm just doing it very lightly, especially when I'm doing it in black ink. If I'm, you know, stamping this out in like a light blue ink on a white piece of paper, you don't really need to wipe it off. But a black thick ink, yeah, good idea to do that. Otherwise, I'd have a bunch of like these harsh, you know, straight lines, you know, potentially in there. I don't know if we'd be, you know, be able to see them very much against that white, I mean, against that reddish tinge in there. But if it went into that area in there, we'd definitely see it. Okay, so see this right here? You're just kind of changing the angle. We're not having to mask off at all. You know, masking off is completely, I wouldn't say it's useless. Like if you just don't feel comfortable about doing, you know, I don't know, you can put a piece of paper towel there or anything like that. It's just really going to get in the way though. If you just kind of wipe it off like this, you'll never have to mask off the cloud. Not from itself. I mean, if you have the cloud coming up from behind a cabin or something like that, then you might do that. Mask off the cabin, but not, you won't have to mask off previous impressions of the cloud. Okay, so just a simple technique like this. And no cloud worries at all. Okay, you see that right there? See how it transitions right here? Because I wiped the back of it too, otherwise I'd have this harsher line right there. So, I don't know. Boy, that's looking kind of ominous in there though, which is kind of the point of this one. Okay, but you see where we see the clouds in here now too? Because we blocked it out with the white ink, okay? Okay, now I don't want to go too far down with the clouds, okay? Because if I stamp this figure, you know, over the top of something like this, we're not going to be, you know, black on black. We're not going to be able to see the figure. So I want to keep this relatively clear in here. I don't know, maybe it's like creating this like a, I don't know, like swirling kind of vortex of clouds or something like that. That's the second time I've mentioned vortex in the last 24 hours. Is Jeannie still here? I mentioned it on her piece, kind of this vortex of clouds going up. And actually it was into the moon, right? On her latest post. All right, let's see here. I'm just kind of looking at the bottom right here just to make sure that I get this lower kind of platform of the figure there onto that rock. I guess I stamped it up too high and it was kind of floating. And then I don't know. We could say that the character's floating. He defies whatever gravity. All right, there we go, like that. Okay, I stamped that in there. I think I might have removed. I think some of it transferred and some of it actually removed the white, like I was talking about. Like there's some solids in there where it removed some of the white as opposed to transferring the black. But I think that looks pretty good because you can see, you see what I'm talking about right in here? That reddish tinge in there? That's where it removed a little bit of the ink. But it kind of integrated the figure with the, the clouds in there a little bit though. I mean the paper a little bit more too. So I don't really mind that. All right, so let's get that focal point in here. The base needs something else though, or like around on the edges. I don't know if this is going to be like solid enough. It might be like invisible in here. We'll see how it goes. I might have to add a little bit more around in here. I'm not sure. And we do need some other types of, there isn't anything like light, like super light in here. Maybe that's where the white Dr. Martens will come in handy. I'm not sure. I want a little bit more contrast in here. Something that's maybe pure white. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so is this the eyeball to use? I have several eyes. I think it'll be fine. I think this might be my favorite one. I was into like eyeballs and like hands a lot. I found, not consciously, but when I looked at kind of my private collection of stamps, and when I first started buying more and more stamps, it was I wasn't using them quite as much, because I was so busy running Stampscapes, but when I look back and I laid them all out, instead of having them all be in boxes, it's like there's a lot of eyeballs and hands and like body parts. And that was a section at Stampa Barbara. Okay, it was like, that's what the name of one of their sections, you know what I mean? It was like, okay, there's birthdays, there's word stamps, whatever, nature, and body parts was how they categorized all like figures, like skulls and everything like that. Okay, so here we go, like that. Oh, look at that. So that's like without the holographic, and it goes like that. It's like a lava lamp or something like that. I've been mentioning kind of lava lamp, but this one's really like almost like a lava lamp with those red colors in there. Okay, so let's see here. Let's add some of this in here. This might be a little bit kind of obscured. This would almost stand out more in white. It would look like lightning. Oh, gosh, so if I do this coming out from here, no, that'd be too busy. But you can almost do that. If we didn't have the clouds in here, it would have been interesting to stamp the eyeball. You got that little white in there, right? And if this wasn't this circle of clouds around there, you could have just done this in white around the eyeball like that. The possibilities with eyeballs, it's really amazing. Or this might be interesting too, if we had some other gold elements in here, we can add them in, but if you stamp like gold in that red against that red, would look kind of interesting too. Maybe outside of this composition, where you're just kind of utilizing it with something else. Word stamps, and gold against that red. I think that would look really rich. All right, so let's add in some foreground here. Let's see how this goes. I don't think this is going to stand out very much because it's really, it's like I said, it's stamping out something black against that background there, but maybe we'll be able to see enough of this that it shows a little bit at least. Yeah, that is really, really light there. Okay, this is going to be like a subtexture, like where it's barely like visible. Yeah, that's just like what I thought, so I don't know if you can see that right in there. I mean, you can see it when I'm with that glare across there like that. So if I want that to really stand out, I can put another layer of like a little bit more white coming out this way. But I think I'm just going to stick with it like that. Again, or I can spray seal it, and then I can have this double layer. You can do it in dark, and then you can hit, another layer of it, but do it in white, so it's like a multi-layered kind of foreground image. But if I do this in white over here, you'd really want something else kind of stamped out in white, I think. Unless the Dr. Martens kind of takes care of that, which it might, in terms of achieving something that's light enough to balance that out. Okay, so the other thing too that I had in here was I was going to use this tonal applicator flame stamp too, but I think that would be too busy over the tops of those clouds. Those clouds are already fairly busy and active in there, so I don't think I want to do that. So I'm going to change up from that idea too. Again, if I stamp this out in a different color though, like emanating from there, I think it would be pretty cooler if I just did this in these areas. But again, it's again, I don't want to block off too much of what's going on with that, that holographic in the background like that, So, all right. All right, bye to Debbie. The cloud stamp. I cut the corners off. Oh, that's a good idea there. Interesting. Let's see. Lichen is a werewolf. Got it. Train stamps are from 37 to 43. They are no longer in production. What company were those, Froggy Fresh? Hello, Annie. Good to see you. Werewolves, and I have a bunch of skulls. I think they were all my skull stamps are all I think they're all copyright-free engravings, so super detailed ones. Yeah, what other creatures can you think of, Ginger? Frankenstein. Kraken. Well, what does a kraken look like? There's so many, with krakens, there's so many different versions. I think at one time, I was collecting a bunch of reference material. One of them would be like a gigantic squid. And I wonder if I still have those materials somewhere. Yeah, but I always wanted a giant squid. There's some out there, but again, I don't know if those companies are even around. One of them that I had was from... or no, theirs was just an octopus, but I used it as a giant squid because I had it attacking like a clipper ship or something. Okay, white. Dr. Martin's bleed proof white. And we're going to try to create this kind of emanating kind of explosion of, textures coming out from there. So I'm going to try to do what I can about kind of creating a more dense field of these dots right in here. Okay, and then we'll have like less of it out here. So I'm kind of bringing, using my toothbrush a little bit more distant. You know, the way that eyeballs kind of naturally explode like that. Or not, I don't know. Emanate. Okay, so this is, oops, whoa. All right, so that's what that looks like right there. I tried not to get too much of that splatter right in the eyeball like that, but it's kind of created a little bit more texture and kind of visual interest and movement within the piece. I think it looks like it's coming from the, that area in there. But now I couldn't get, things like perfect with that. So I'm going to hit it with, so I was talking about gold before. Let me see if I have a good, I don't think I've used my Artistro gold. Okay, so I was thinking about, when I was saying that, I was thinking about silver, but I just think that gold goes really well with red. I guess silver and gold, though, looks pretty good, too. I don't think I would use both. Oh, so I might use my jewel, my crystals on here, too. I think it'll be cool, kind of, some crystals coming out this way. All right, so let's go with some gold on here. Let's go with the metallic on metallic here. Can you guys see that? Is it... I need to, let me see if I can change my exposure here a little bit. There we go. It's exposing for all this white around here, so here, let me take some of this out. So it looks a little bit too dark in there. Now maybe it's too light. Here we go. That's a little bit better. Let me see. Okay, that's a little bit more of what I'm seeing. Well, that's a little bit too bright, though. Okay, that's about what I see right there, if what I'm looking at in my screen is accurate to what you're seeing. All right, so we want to create more targeted applications of this. Hello, Laura. This is what we just saw in southern Arizona here. Is anyone anywhere where there's the crazy flooding going on? I think, I don't know, my son was looking at the forecast for Las Vegas, and he said it was like 116 with like rain or something like that in the forecast. He was looking it up because it was just out there for an event in his sport. Okay, so I'm adding these little gold, I don't know, whatever, embellishments in here. And then I'm spreading them out farther apart as it moves away from the eyeball. And I'll make some of these out here even larger. Okay, so we'll play around with scale a little bit. And plus, I don't know, we just needed some extra texturing in here, It's interesting enough to have that type of paper in the background, but I don't know, it needed more from just a little bit of a continuity standpoint in here. In terms of the subject matter, otherwise that little figure and everything like that's going to get kind of swallowed up in the, that background in there. But I don't know, can you see those little golden ones? You see some of those dots in here? You can't see them as much, but then If you hit it with the light like that, that's what I like about them. They're kind of dark in some ways against, you know, or neutral at least. But then when you hit metallics with that angle, they reflect back that lighting so much more strongly, which is kind of fun. Okay, and let's kind of detail the eyeball too, or just, I don't know, just some of the figures in here. We'll highlight some of these clouds in here, I think. Some of the other figures. The Kraken is a large octopus thing. I was just looking at something that had to do with a gigantic squid. Eyeballs are fun, Candy. I haven't used it in a while, so it's kind of fun breaking out some of these other images. I get around to using them probably about once a year. Maybe not all of them, but there's probably about 12 of my private collection ones that I'd like to have in rotation. Steam powered by Peter Gabriel. Oh, that was a video, right? You're referring to? Quacking. It's hot in Arizona. Yeah. I don't know if it's hotter. Right now, I'm in about, it's about 90 out here in San Diego. And it's starting to get very humid. After this scene, I might be doing like all winter scenes for a while. Okay, so I'm just kind of embellishing the eyeball a little bit in some areas. I'm not just trying to outline it, but it's kind of like highlighting some areas like this. And this is something that we do, it's not just eyeball kind of highlighting. It's something you can do with anything. But you just kind of vary it like this. So like in the top fold like that, or right here where, the eyeball's sticking out the most, you can kind of highlight those areas like that. Let's put, and then this one has that little kind of reflection, like that window reflection in the eye. So I'm going to bring that out a little bit more too. Like about like so. Okay. All right. And let's do something similar to some of these clouds in here. Okay, so on the parts of the clouds, the lightest areas of the clouds kind of facing, in this case, I guess it's our light source, I will apply a little bit of this white onto those billows, especially the ones that are closest to the light source. It doesn't look like a light source so much, but it's definitely kind of the visual focal point. So it kind of directs your your eye a little bit more too when we've kind of established this kind of lighting source here. So in other words, if you illuminate, the interior of all these clouds, it kind of draws kind of the viewer's attention into that area. It's no different than doing it on these trees like this. So I'm doing it on the side of this tree, facing the light, and on this side, the highlights are on the left side of the tree. So right side of the tree, left side of the tree. It's no different. Here's, if these are clouds and that's an eyeball right there, it's the same. It's the same kind of process, or whatever strategy. So you can you can really direct your viewer's eye too by these little types of things like this. in this way, it's just, in this scene, it's kind of reiterating, you know, things, you know, people's attention are going to go straight to that eyeball probably first. But then you just kind of, you strengthen that, you know, whatever visual anchor point by doing little highlighting types of things like this. All right, so I see those clouds are a little bit more animated like that now too. We have this cloud here. This cloud here is almost like a little bit too light here. I think I need to add in a little bit more tone. Right through here, I think. Let's go with the, or let's make a new template here, maybe. Okay, I'm going to try to add some of this in here without removing some of the white that's already been applied, or especially the imagery that's already been applied in there. I don't think it'll be a problem. The brilliance kind of sets up pretty well, you know. On this paper especially, like this paper is kind of this holographics, they call it a matte, if you didn't watch earlier there, if you just kind of logged in, but it's more of a satin finish. So it grabs this surface a little bit better than like a, you know, just a straight, you know, super glossy type of holographic cardstock. Okay. With some of the holographic cardstock, if you just touch it, it's like you remove everything that's been applied on there, if you haven't spray sealed it already. So see that I can get that little white in front of that area in there. Okay, let's see. Let's do this too. Let's apply it over some of this here too. See, I'm applying it over the black. I think I am, yeah, I am picking up some of the black here, but if I can get a little bit down there like that, I think it'll be okay. See, it looks a little bit more kind of misty and kind of soft, you know, texturally like that. So let's do that on a couple little areas like this just for some variation. So that I'm not kind of removing too much of the black and I'm transferring some of the white. What I'm doing is I'm trying to ink this up so that there's more white on here, you know, so it's thicker than what I'm applying it down into. And I think that helps it a little bit. Like the simplest thing to do is just to spray seal this and you can just apply it freely, but I don't know, let's just see what we can get here without doing that first. If I see that I'm muddling the image too much, I'll stop doing that. See, you can see that black kind of getting on here, but it's not too thick. All right, so let's see here. Let's bring this over here a little bit too. I don't like the shape of that cloud in the background just as is. So we're carrying this out like this a little bit more. And let's do that over here too, I think. But let's not just make it mirror this side by doing it right here. Let's come up here a little bit more, like maybe like this. Okay. My mom's birthday is coming up, so maybe this will be my my birthday card to her. I'm joking, folks. It's not going to be used for that one. All right, so let's go with some crystals here. I just got this black kind of holographic glitter too. Now I haven't used that yet, but I know something like that might be kind of interesting, especially on the black Mirri holographic. Okay, so this is just some, just standard crafting glue here. This is this. It's really kind of probably a better idea to apply these little crystals before you do the splatter painting, because when you start adding, like, unless you're just doing it one at a time, you kind of lose track of which one of these dots is glue and which one's the Dr. Martens splatter painting. It's not too hard to tell if this is kind of, freshly applied, but if I did like 20 of these right around in here, this stuff starts drying pretty fast and it becomes, instead of white and kind of raised, it becomes transparent and flat, and it's kind of hard to tell. All right, I think I can go fairly bold with this one, with that background in there especially. So I'm going to go with a little bit of a larger. Some of these will be a little bit larger in terms of the crystal size. That glue is already drying on me. Let me see. Okay, so that one's one. One of the things I like to do too, if you've seen any of my other pieces, sometimes I take a compass around these kind of weird kind of focal point styles of images, or I don't know, whatever compositions, and then I'll add like a white line around in there, and that one might be kind of interesting like that. Ah, okay. Almost flipped the crystal upside down. Okay, let's see here. This almost stand out too much. I made them big. So what I'll do is I'm adding in some larger stars too, around in here, like this, to match the scale a little bit. This is starting to clog up. I'm going over a lot of the pigment ink on here with this pen, so you have to kind of constantly scribble with it, because you have that pigment ink that's going up into here and drying in the tip. So try to get these flowing as much as you can, really good, so that you're transferring as opposed to taking it in here. I did this little figure down here in this group that I'm in still, but like 20 years ago I did this. It was a card swap, and the one I did was with this figure, and I called it. God, what did I call it? I called it. I don't know. It's on the website probably, or in the Flickr gallery maybe. But I had this like figure floating up, in this area. It was just on glossy cardstock, because they didn't have like foils and stuff like that back then, I don't think. And this one person that was in the group, she did her version of it. And it was this cat, like a cartoony type of cat. I think that's what it was. And it, it had its hands up. And then I think there was this other cat or something like that that was floating up there. And her name of her piece was like a takeoff on the one that I named mine. I can't remember what it was, but it had like this feline type of theme to it. But it was like really cool to see that piece. It wasn't really, I think it was years later too. Or I don't know, it was something like that, but it was just hilarious because it was kind of done in the same like style too. I think with the same colors and everything like that, but that's with these cartoony cats. All right. So anyways, I think that is it right there. I don't know. Anyone have a good name for this piece right here? We haven't. I haven't done a kind of call for card names in a while, but there it is right there. So we have kind of 3 layers, I guess, in here. It's the background layer, which is the paper, and then we have the pigment ink and impressions type of thing. But then there's the Dr. Martens and the crystals on here. As far as kind of the raised elements in here, I thought about doing some crystals out here, like, but I thought just kind of hovering around in that area would be just, otherwise it's getting like really, really loud, visually loud. So I think I'll just leave it at that. But here we have these kind of lava things kind of, I don't know what they look like, just kind of going on in the background, kind of some kind of galactic nebulae or whatever. Or if it looks like it's kind of rising. It looks like it's kind of rising like that to me, up in the air or something. But there's another one of the Mirri. Look how that looks like that. That almost looks kind of cool like that in that color, huh? It's like a blood red or something like that. And then that way it comes kind of alive like that. See, like that? See how it starts like down there. I mean, it just depends on, what kind of angle someone's looking at it, from. It's kind of interesting to work with, though. Ever-changing, kind of surfaces like that, depending on the angle of the piece or what lighting is hitting it. Okay, let's see. Linda, it might be, we're getting pretty close to Halloween. Is it time for the 11x17s to come out again, the monster maps? Let's see. Okay, let's see what people are saying here. BC is engulfed in forest. Man, I hate those fires and hearing about that. Because we know all about that in California, of course, forest fires, wildfires just going out of control. I haven't been following the news in terms of like the specific locations, but is it just going on in BC or is it like in, across the country, like in, is it Alberta too or something like that? Lightning and no rain. Okay. I used to travel to Arizona, every now and then. I'm talking about years ago, like 20 years ago when I was teaching classes, but it was kind of just interesting talking with the locals that had been out there for a while. And they were convinced that there was like this bubble over like the Phoenix area these days, or I don't know, just other, that general area of the state where all these like golf courses and things like that, and it was preventing, they told me that it was like, a couple people mentioned this, that it was preventing like the monsoons, to come in and cool things off when, they hadn't seen that as much as a regular type of thing. A tornado stamp. Ah. That one's a tough one from a design element. Unless you have it kind of one of those things where it's like way out there in the distance. That'd be kind of cool though. How do you keep your work area so neat? It's not neat at all. If I can show my area, I don't think I could show it. But see this right over here? See this pile right here as it starts right here? And then it gets worse as it goes over here. There's this gigantic pile of acrylics and with tack and peel on there and everything. So it doesn't, it's not real tidy. I do tidy it up once in a while, but like right on my floor around me, I've got all this different stuff because I've been playing around with all these different papers. So there's a pile of Mirri lava on the ground. I've got stamps on the floor behind me, wood-mounted ones and unmounted ones. So it's I don't know. It's an illusion there. Froggy Fresh. Oh, Ginger, yeah. Sagebrush Central, huh? I'm wondering about the fires this year in California in the fire season with all the rains that we've had. God, it was so wild. They had like 4th of July skiing up on Mammoth Mountain this year. There was so much snow up there in the winter. But all those streams and everything like that and the explosion of wildflowers and things like that, it's gonna create all that fuel in other areas like in the chaparral. So I don't know. I'm just hoping for the best, as far as when it comes to that. I think Joshua Tree. I used to love going to Joshua Tree a lot, and I saw posts of a fire out that way sometime within the last month, I think it was. We had a firefighter killed when a tree fell on her yesterday. Wow. Yeah, that's it gets dangerous out there. It's really sad when that happens to firefighters. The fire marshal and the base commander. I lived next to an Air Force base out in Central California growing up, and there was a big fire out on the base. And, they were overlooking, the situation out there. And I think it was the base commander and the fire chief, I think, just got trapped and they died. And later on, it was kind of sad. I mean, it's always sad, but the fire chief or fire marshal or something like that, his son had lit the fire because he was worried about his dad losing his job. So, oh God, can you imagine? Froggy Fresh, what do you mean that you wish you can make something as nice looking as Kevin? You already do. So Froggy Fresh, if you want to do this one, just change your moon to an eyeball. You have eyeballs, right? I have a feeling that you have a lot of kind of funky imagery like I do. Throw it in the frame. I think on this one right here, I put it around a piece of gold, just plain gold like this. Maybe a real thin layer of it. Actually, this is half page right here. I'd go like that, and then maybe black on the outside or something like that, huh? So I do have a little bit of that. I don't know, maybe the gold is too much. Maybe you can have it like really thin, like that right there, and then black out to the outside. That's green. I don't know, something like that, that combination right there. This is a little bit, blue, but yeah, it needs to be matted off with something. I don't know, maybe the silver. The silver would match the crystals in there. I think I do have some gold, but I wanted something sparkly in there though. I know this scene could use. There's another element I think I could bring into this one. Maybe, oh, but it would be like after I spray seal it, I could probably bring in some those light beams or something like that in here. I think that might make it, I don't know, but I don't want to mask over. I don't want to cover over those red waves in there too much, though. Okay, X that one. Yeah, but I don't know. I might add something there. It seems like this could use a little bit of something a little bit more like that in there. Black holographic glitter, yeah, Ginger. So that black holographic glitter, I think we can do something on this. You know, with that black holographic glitter. Maybe the black holographic glitter in here. Maybe we do something like you lay down some black holographic glitter. How would we do this? So if I want some trees in here, but that black holographic glitter is in here, maybe interspersed with some of the Dr. Martin's white in here, so it makes it look like a Milky Way in here. But we can have some of that black holographic glitter in here, and then put some trees over the top. But how do you stamp the trees over the top of, you know, because that glitter's raised? Would it have to be like you have to put trees in here? Like it'd be kind of interesting to do black embossed trees over this, right? But I want the glitter in front of the trees. I want the glitter in the back there. So can you do, maybe if it's thick enough, huh, that black pigment ink or something like that, and you stamp it down here, and then you just do the clear embossing over it or something like that? You know, so the trees are kind of silhouetted against this kind of wild. I would do the black holographic glitter in this direction here because the direction of this holographic seems to be like this. So I think having those, you know, some kind of glitter thing going across here would be kind of interesting. And how to apply the glitter too. I haven't done glitter before. I don't think. If I did, it was really, really minimal. So I don't know. If anyone has tips for glitter, let me know. Yeah, I've heard that too there, Verna, with the fires and the smoke coming down. It's like the opposite of like acid rain coming from the U.S. into Canada. Now, you know, all those fires going on. 87 miles an hour, Chicago? Wow. That is really, really windy. I've hiked out in like 87-mile-an-hour winds. Not constant, but we were getting gusts one time, so that is really crazy wind. Oh, Froggy Fresh, you know what we were talking about with the monster maps, though, right? You didn't do one? We did those last year. I don't know. How many people did the monster maps last year? I know I don't know, 3 or 4 people maybe did those in the Facebook group. Those are really fun to see, and it was fun to see those develop too, because we were mostly doing them kind of large format, you know, 11 by 17 or so. Can 500 wildflowers go? Oh my gosh. Maybe they don't even know. Were all of those kind of started kind of naturally, like with lightning strikes or something like that? Can you put a link to one of your monster maps in here for Ginger? If you're on, I'm in a different program right here. Let me see here. Let me go, okay, let me see. If you just type in Stampscapes and monster map. Let's see here. Yeah. Let me see if do I have like a quick replay one? They're all like an hour and a half or something like that. Oh, here, wait, we go. Here's a 3-minute one here. Let me see here. Okay, if people don't know what we're talking about with the monster maps, I did these 11 by 17 monochromatic pieces. Maybe someone already did show the monster map here, but they're 11 by 17 pieces, and what we did was I kind of approached it like the monster maps, like like an amusement park map or something like that, where you would walk in to an amusement park and you get a map, okay? And you know those maps how they're kind of more a little bit more cartoony looking. They're really accurate in terms of locating things, but they're real kind of like cartoony 3-dimensional looking. And that was the spirit of those. And to try to create some sort of general path or something like that, and just to load them up with, it was a perfect opportunity to, make a really cluttered, but really, fun map of some location. It doesn't have to be a monster map, but those are just happen to be, I had a bunch of like things that I could use as little creatures and stuff like that. So it was a good opportunity to use them in like one piece or one composition or a bunch of them. And, so I did 3 of them, I think. And they all kind of evolved from one to the next because I was trying to really figure it out how one little setting, can flow into the next one. And I just did them in monochromatic, which made it, much faster to do. And I think really effective in terms of the theme, just keeping it grayscale. But check those out. And if you're on Facebook, I don't know how you would even look up the monster maps though that people have done, unless you just look up their name, look through all their stuff. But like Linda's got them in there, I don't know. Did Jeannie? I don't know. Jeannie's still here. Jeannie, did you do a monster map? I think I can't remember who did them, but I remember seeing quite a decent number of them after, and they were all really awesome looking. And there was so many things that can happen, kind of in a large format composition too. So just really wild. It was really different too, different looking settings. We're used to doing like one scene like this, but then in the monster maps that, so to give you an example of the scale, here's, this is like a half-page scene or something like that. This was like the size of the monster map. So it was like a bunch of little vignettes of things, and there might be an entry point right here and, an exit point over here. So I think I had like little figures or something like that in each one of my maps. And then I always use the same figures kind of running out, or I don't know if it was the running kids or something like that. But then the monster maps too, there was a freedom to it where I didn't have to, I mean, there's not like rules to any scene stamping or anything like that, but I didn't have to abide by like any rules of scale. So I can do like a little figure like this in the foreground, but then in the background there could be a figure that's more distant that's bigger, or of a bigger scale or something like that. Or you can do little characters down here and bigger ones in the background. So it's like you can throw all those rules out the door, and that when it came to something like that, because it's not meant to be just what I mean. There, I don't know. There's no rules on those amusement park maps or something like that, So I don't know, because you can say that was like a haunted house map or something like that type of thing. The monsoon is about a month late this year. Okay, so we had like a super late, like rainy season here too, which would have been the same for Arizona, right? And yeah, I think we were getting some kind of weird weather too. I think our was it June gloom? No, maybe the June gloom was weird. It was like in May, I think, around here instead of in June. And we just started getting like hot the last like maybe like week and a half. I don't know. It's probably, what I mean. Arizona and California are not too different from one another in terms of the patterns. So whatever we're having, you're having, we're probably having, kind of something similar. Jeannie's not going to get off her ship in Canada. Oh, that's right. The cruise, huh? Froggy Fresh, you don't have any eyeballs? Huh. I have a bunch of eyeballs. I have about, well, not a bunch, but relatively speaking, 3 or 4 or something like that. Okay, people, yeah. I think that, yeah, I'm with you with the silver right here. I got it to the iris of the eye. How do you do you not be nervous doing live in front of a live audience? I think about things when I'm doing it in front of a live audience, especially if I'm doing something new and it's like a new technique, like watercolor painting, like for the first time, you know. I wouldn't say that I'm absolutely not self-conscious, but I think it's just through repetition. I've been doing it a long time, so like 91 was when I first started teaching, and you know, I still get, you know, a little bit of that feeling going into any type of live thing, even though it's like virtual. It still feels like this. It feels like I'm demonstrating in front of a bunch of people at a convention, you know, with you guys here, which is, you know, kind of fun because it's, you know, we get to talk about stamping too, and like things like completely off the subject matter sometime from what I'm working on. But yeah. Oh, tips for glitter: don't sneeze. Funny. Guess what? I got the roundhouse roof done. Now I need to put the roof on the round. That roundhouse is amazing. I think we asked you how long have you been working on that? The pieces for the roundhouse. We heard you talking about that. It's been months, right? I lost track of time, but that thing looked amazing. Check out Froggy Fresh's piece on the in the Stampscapes Facebook group if you guys are on it. I wish you know, not everyone's on Facebook, so I'm always encouraging people to like open up like a free. I don't know what photo things are available these days, like public things, but like Flickr, you know what I mean? Flickr, you can post like I don't know 1,000 photographs free before you buy a pro account. But there, I mean, there's a tons of hard drive space if you want to post that. But it'd be cool, you know, for other people to be able to see the pieces that everyone's doing. Like Jeannie, you know, Jeannie's on there too. Jeannie doesn't post everything on her Flickr gallery though, and Linda's on there, so you can see things outside of Facebook, and that would be really cool. If you're doing that though, there's a group on Flickr called, you know, the Stampscapes group or something like that. So you can throw it into, you know, you don't have to. It's not a private group or anything like that, but just, you know, you can upload it to your own thing and then just share to the Stampscapes group. So it'd be nice, to, you know, to collect, you know, one spot for everyone to see these different really awesome pieces. You know what I mean? You know, should put it out there where everyone can see these pieces that, you know, that might feel inclined to. So yeah. So Flickr, FLICKR.com. And yeah, just open an account there and just post them up there. Some people, like I said, they don't do social media. Flickr's really, I don't know, Flickr's not really social media. I guess it's photo sharing or something like that. But, you know, it's not like this community of chat rooms and all that type of thing. It's just posting up your pieces, and you can name your Flickr gallery whatever you want. You know, you can come up with any kind of name you want. So, you know, if you want privacy, you don't have to have it, you know, your full name or anything like that too. But we can kind of direct people over and they can see the pieces. So yeah, time for an eyeball for Froggy. Yeah, 100 Proof Press probably has a bunch of them. I wouldn't be surprised if they have this one. Like, I think this one was, I don't know if this one is public domain or, you know, an engraving, or it probably is, but I think 100 Proof Press has a bunch of them, and as well as the Conjuring, the Conjurer, you know. So Linda bought some eyeballs when I did the monster map. Those were some awesome monster maps that you made, Linda. I think what did I say on your monster maps? I think when I saw your monster maps, I was saying it'd be awesome to, if you could display those, I think, in like a triptych format. I can't remember with yours though. I don't know if it was yours or someone else's. I was thinking it would be cool to, if you had those in frames and then you could stack them like vertically, like on top of one another. Some people, you know, the monster maps would be like side by side, But on someone's monster maps, I remember thinking when I saw them, maybe you had a photograph where you had all three of them together, but I thought, oh, that would be really awesome if they could be displayed like that. You know, I don't remember whose it was, but it might have been that one. Um, but yeah, this would be cool, kind of in a triptych too. If I did like, see, this one's like this size right here, and this would be the central piece. And then if we had like another one off to the side, maybe it wouldn't be red, but it would be like the white one or something out here, but with some sort of similar theme, but a little bit different, you know? And, you know, and then this could be displayed like in one like frame or something like that as a triptych. I think that'd be kind of interesting. Maybe, so instead of, I was thinking this needs something in here, I think, for visual interest, but maybe instead of having it in here, it's just on these adjoining pieces. Or you can even do something where it's like, you know, I don't know, rectangle, like smaller rectangles out here, you know, and you can kind of form this, you know, triangulation in terms, you know, compositional things, because like these hands are going out this way to something, maybe two more eyeballs. Maybe that might be a little bit too much, but, or something out there on the side, so, you know. I don't know. Maybe Linda will do that. Linda's got a bunch of eyeballs now too, so you know, it's the eyeball uh, challenge. You know, monthly challenge. You know, we'll have to do like a the eyes have it type of thing on the monthly challenge, maybe around Halloween or something of that sort. Yeah, it's time, Jeannie. I don't know if you have monsters in your collection or not. Maybe yours can be, I don't know. Jeannie, you should try some, like a sequential piece, though. You know, you're always working large anyways, but, you know, something like a trio of, like some kind of, you know, thematic trio. I mean, you got a bunch of stuff that can already kind of work that way, but if you're kind of thinking in terms of that, it would be really cool. Like those vortexes, you know, within the sky of all that movement. Maybe you have like, you know, you have like movement kind of going in with your kind of stormy pieces, like from the two on the flanking sides. And then maybe the inner one could be more of a circular kind of format like that. And it'd be cool kind of in terms of, to, as I always say, stamp expressionism, like that, you know, a three-piece kind of triptych or set, you know. All right. Photograph all three stacked. Such a fun project. I'm watching Bob Ross paint clouds. If he only had an eyeball in there. All right, folks. So anyways, there is the eyeball, the crystal eye. You know, what was that? What was that Indiana Jones piece? Wasn't there like there was like all those crystals or something like that? The something of the crystal something. So here's a bunch of crystals around here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 crystals around there. So it's the 7, I don't know, whatever, 7 tiers or something like that. But do you see this right in here with that little bit of white on that eyeball? It kind of brought it out a little bit more. So it brought a little bit more attention because that eyeball is kind of a little bit lighter than that surrounding area. I wasn't thinking about it doing it that way, but I think it looks pretty good like that. Just in terms of having it be that focal point. It's not so kind of grayish, you know, white anymore, you know, from the blocking out in there. So, yeah. Anyway, the Crystal Skull. I've heard that the latest Indiana Jones, I heard that it's not that great or something like that. I don't know. I don't seem to have interest in seeing it, but yeah, the Crystal Skull. Thanks for joining in, everyone. Have a great rest of evening and weekend. The Phantom comic books? Are you talking about the classic Phantom? I have Phantom #1. I don't have any of those other ones, if that's the one you're speaking of. Interesting. All right, folks. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks for bearing with me if this isn't like your thing at all, you know, and you've kind of stuck it out in here. But like I said, you can do this all, you know, you can do different things like that, you know. Do this same composition right here, throw a full moon in here or something like that instead of this little conjuring figure with these spiky bushes to each side of them. Put a deer right here under a nice calm night sky with a, you know, little corona around the moon like that. And it'll, you know, it's the same technique or whatnot, but just different paper. Same exact technique, doing everything, but you just switch these out right here. This character right here, and you know, this one down here. So, but if you want to go in this direction, you just change out those kind of like, you know, conventional scenic stamping things, and you put some kind of thing weird up there, and it, you know, it's like a completely different theme. So yeah. All right, everyone, take care. Stay hydrated. Don't breathe in too much of that smoke wherever you are, and yeah, have a great rest of evening and weekend.